What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Football Chat Box. My name is Ryan, and welcome to the Gameweek 9 Wildcard Draft. Now, I'm going to go through probably every single position, explain like what players I want to get in a Gameweek 9 Wildcard, and also give you various other options for those positions as well if you don't want to get those players. Obviously, as you can see, this is a blank screen that we got. You can see the names of the players that I have in my current squad. And I'm not playing my wildcard this week, but if you were to play a wildcard this week, this is something that I would probably look to do as well. Let me know what your thoughts are about the team as well at the end of the comments, and make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, because we're trying to get to 600 subs and we're about 24 away. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. All right, now let's start. I've got 105 in the bank. As you can see, you probably have more than me, or maybe you have less. I don't know, but that's how much I have to play with, and I'll try and build a team where there's a bit of money in the bank, just in case for those who have less or very close to the same amount. But yeah, just kind of gives me a slight barrier in terms of not going overboard as well, and people go, I can't build this wildcard squad, I don't have the money. So let's start. I'm going to put Turner back in. I'm going to keep Haaland back in as well that I had. Salah also, I'm going to keep him back in. And Matty Cash that I had as well, I'm going to put him in as well alongside Madison. So these are the couple players that I'm going to start with, and then we'll look in terms of what can change, what we can bring in, who we can keep, and all that. So we'll start with goalkeepers. Now I've added Turner, and the reason I've gone with Turner is because 4 million keeper, okay, 4.1. Most of you are probably still having for 4 million, is because there aren't that many good keeper rotations, and if you're looking for 2 keeper rotations, I think Turner is a decent option, very cheap as well, plain as well for the moment. So I think he's a good choice. And to pair him, you've got a couple of options now. You can go for rare if you wanted to. Arsenal have a good set of fixtures upcoming. Defense looks a bit solid. You can go for him. Only problem with him, he's slightly expensive, right? 4.8 for a keeper, a bit expensive compared to some of the other options I'm going to mention. But you could go for him if you're not going for an Arsenal defender. The next one I would suggest would be potentially, where is he? To sort by points. Would be Johnston. Right? Now, the reason I'm going with Johnston, reason I'm suggesting Johnston is because they have a slightly, okay, they have a tough run here, but you could potentially start Turner there. But they have a decent run over here, which is not too bad. And after 21, they have another slightly decent run. Now, you want a wild card. If you're picking a wild card team, especially with goalkeepers, you're going to have to keep them at least till game week 25, 26, even 27. Okay, because you're not going to wild card until then. Your second wild card, you won't be playing until then, most likely. Because come after that only, you'll probably look into like double game weeks and all this kind of stuff. So you're going to probably look to hold your wildcard till then. So that's about 15 to 16 game weeks you need to hold your wildcard, and you kind of need 2 keepers most likely for that stretch. Because chances of you wildcarding a keeper out is very minimal. Unless you do want to wildcard a keeper out. Do want to transfer a keeper out. So Johnston's another option. But I think I'm going to go with the easy pick here in terms of Areola for 4.2. I think his fixtures overall are better, as you can see, until at least game week 22. Then 2 tough fixtures against United and Arsenal, and then again 25, 26 is not too bad. You can keep him until 28 even if you wanted to. He's actually a pretty decent keeper. West Ham are actually a pretty good team as well now. So I think he's a pretty good option, and he rotates decently with Turner. So that's the goalkeepers. Let's move in to the defense. Okay, we're going to start with Trippier. Now, Trippier 6.9 million. If you were one of the lucky ones who went and got Trippier earlier, you probably have a better team value than me. I don't have Trippier now, and I'm kind of stuck with him in terms of like if I wanted to get him, I had to buy him for a very expensive amount, and I'm not sure if I really want to do that, especially given that the next couple of fixtures until game week 14 aren't the easiest. Maybe you could even stretch it out till game week 16. And then you're like wondering, oh, do you really want to get in for 3 and then 3 tough fixtures after that? So it's a bit of a, I don't know, maybe you stretch it out until game week 14, you go without him and you go, all right, 6 fixtures, 3 tough ones, 3 okay ones. Maybe there's a 50% chance of clean sheets. I don't know. It depends on how you want to go. Do you want to go with him? Do you want to go without him? We'll do both in this draft actually, and we'll show you where you can kind of, where you have to compromise if you go with Trippier. Okay, so we'll go with Trippier for now. Cash is in there. My third defender that I would probably look to get would be a defender that I would want to rotate in most cases, right? I had Guehi in here, and I'm going to add him back because I think Crystal Palace are a decent team in terms of fixtures where you have certain fixtures that are decently rotatable. Then you go into a very tough run and you're like, okay, yeah, that's tough. But after that, it's decent. So Guehi is one option. They have been a good defense so far. Like Crystal Palace, they haven't been too bad. Another one you could go is you could double up on West Ham defense and go Soufal. Or you could also go slightly different in Emerson if you think Emerson is more attacking. Whichever way you can go, probably add Soufal for now because even though he hasn't been as attacking compared to Emerson, he's getting more returns. Now you might not want to go with double West Ham defense, and I completely agree with that. That's fine, completely fine. I completely understand that and completely fine. You can go with someone else. I'll give you also another option in terms of now. If you didn't go with the Arsenal defender, I don't mind an Arsenal defender over here. Probably I think Gabriel is the cheapest option you can get. Gabriel, White, Saliba, and then the other slot is kind of like rotation risk, so I wouldn't go there. So I think Gabriel is the cheapest you can go for 4.7. I'll probably add Gabriel in here. And then I'd go for like a 3.9 million defender, right? In I think Taylor plays games. You don't have to worry about it. If I was to check for Burnley, Taylor does play games, so they do have a decent run coming up. So maybe there will be games where you could potentially start him as well if you wanted to. So I'm going to add him in because he plays games, and 3.9 million can't go wrong. Like I said, the third defender I really want to like try and rotate if possible in certain situations. Between Soufal and Gabriel, I might potentially start Gabriel this week against Chelsea, to be honest. But yeah, so this is something I would go with. You could also, this is another thing you can do, is you can go, okay, you don't want to go with double West Ham defense just yet. If you had Udogi or a Pedro Porro at the time, you could play them against Fulham. Not a bad fixture. Play Trippier or any other Newcastle defender against Gabriel. So this will be your defense. Right, now, let's go into the midfield. Son, Foden, Mbeumo are the players I had. I've got rid of them. The reason I've got rid of Son, and you might say, okay, it's Fulham, I want to go with double Spurs attack. Fine, you can. But I don't think it's worthwhile going and get wildcard in and then going double Spurs attack when you're going to most likely in the next game week itself or the game week after look to probably get rid of one of them. I don't think it's worth spending a transfer on having double Spurs and then having to move them out. Although when we look at the team slightly a bit later, you'll see that you still have the options of like 2 free transfers, and you won't be able to find moves easily unless they're injured or something else appears. So there is probably a tiny case to be made going, oh, I won't have any other fires in my team. We can't be sure of that, but you could probably go with double Spurs deck if you wanted to, but I'm not going to go. I'm just going to go straight into Saka. I think you want Saka. I think he'll be fine against Chelsea. He should be fine. But wait for Arteta, although I'm not going to trust what Arteta says too much. Unless he says he's fit, then maybe he's fit. So I think Saka is someone we definitely want to go ahead of the new fixtures. Arsenal have really good fixtures coming up. So Saka definitely in there. Bowen, you already spoke about West Ham's really good fixtures. I think he is the talisman. So you would want him in. And then your fifth choice, now this is where things get a bit more tricky in terms of having to compromise with Trippier in there, right? Your fifth choice gets tricky because of the fact that you don't have many options in terms of price. Now, I'm going to add 2 options. I'm going to give you 3 options actually. You can go for Neto if you wanted to. Decent cheap punt till game week 16, not too bad. You could go for DRB. Good fixtures till game week 14, right? Or you could go for Mitoma as well, who gets obviously City game week 9 tough. Obviously, I understand, but after that, really good run. Maybe Solly March, but I think Mitoma is probably a slightly better option. You could go for March though, but there are not too much difference in terms of price. Unless you're stuck with price, then you kind of you go with him. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Mitoma for the moment, but we'll talk about it when we get a bit further into the forwards. So let's go into the forwards, like we mentioned. Now, Watkins, I think he is probably the best striker option we have for the next couple of fixtures. At least, again, like I mentioned, until game 14, really good run. And after that, you'll probably look to move out Watkins and you'll have a bit more funds in the bank where you could probably upgrade that fifth midfield spot or a defensive spot where we'll get to Trippier in terms of you'll be probably be able to upgrade a 4.5 or a 5 million defender to a Trippier once you sell Watkins, right? That's a possibility because funds will be available a bit later. Now, you can go without Watkins as well if you wanted to. If you think you want Trippier more than you want Watkins, or you think you want a better midfielder in here, right, over Mitoma, and you don't want to go with Watkins, you could go. You could go Julian Alvarez. Fixtures are slightly tough, I agree, but he's on form, doing really well. 7 million, still I think is good value. You could go with him. The other option is a punt, and I'm telling you now, it's a punt. Is Højlund. United have not looked anywhere close to looking good in terms of scoring multiple goals, but the fixtures are there. I not feeling it too much. Every week passes, I lose more and more confidence in United. So it's a punt. I'm telling you now itself. But Alvarez, I think is fine. Isak, I probably still wouldn't go. I do like their fixtures, but it's just so much rotation in that Newcastle number 9 spot that I'm not really sure if I want to go there. So I would go Watkins. And then forward, as you can see, I have 2.3 in the bank. You guys might have slightly more. I'm just going to go with Archer for now. But if you wanted a very a better player than Archer in that third striker spot and you had money, the other one is the Burnley striker, Lal Foster. He has looked pretty good in terms of when he's played. 2 plus 75 minutes, 9.5 point. He should be, and also before he got injured, 6 and 7. So he is a really good option for these upcoming fixtures that you could potentially play him in a 3-4-3. If you're going for a cheaper fifth midfield spot, right? That's something you could look into doing, a 3-4-3. If you wanted a very cheap third striker, he's probably your man. But if you're going like a 3-5-2, then I think it's probably Archer. Now, as you can see, I'm 2.2 short. Now, this is the problem with Trippier in there as well, while also trying to have Haaland and Salah. I am not in the camp that advocates for no Haaland. I still think having Haaland is a good choice, and I'll probably go with him. But if you don't have one of those two, then you're fine. Completely fine with funds. Now, me on the other hand, I'm not fine because I have a problem. I have only 4.7. So I need to kind of find someone else. Now, you can still have a Newcastle defender for those fixtures and kind of like rotate, right? You can rotate with the Newcastle defense as well. Now, Botman unfortunately is injured, but if he was back fit and if Eddie Howe came and said, okay, he's fit, then Botman, I would recommend Botman first, but he's currently, for the moment, injured. So Dan Burn would be the next defensive option who I can afford. If you can afford Shah, good for you. But I can't. So Dan Burn, most likely. Doesn't scream the greatest, to be honest, but it's a Newcastle defensive option and they have been decent. You could say maybe the time of their clean sheets are kind of over, and I would probably agree. But you could probably play them in these like green fixtures, most likely. The other thing you could do is, again, this depends on fitness and whether we get news from Ten Hag, if he's fit or not. There have been slight rumors. I'm not sure how strong they are. Region, is another good option. You'll have to bench him for City. Gabriel will come in, but he's also not a bad option. I understand United haven't been good attacking wise, I mean defensive wise, but he is a very attacking fullback if he's fit. The other option is you go for Guehi in Crystal Palace. Okay, they're playing Newcastle, not great. You probably start Gabriel then, but you could do that as well, and I won't be against going for Guehi. But for now, let's go and get Dan Burn in there, right? And we'll play him over Gabriel for the moment. We'll keep it like this, but I think I've given you a few options of what you can do without Trippier, and I have 0.1 in the bank. You could go without Gabriel and go to like a 4.5 defender. Some of the other defenders we mentioned, maybe Guehi as well, if you wanted to kind of, if you're short of funds, that is. You could, let's say you wanted to keep Trippier, right? You're saying, I want Trippier. I think he's essential in this team. He's going to get me bonus points even if they don't keep clean sheets. Then you have to look into downgrading one of those midfielders, and this is where the fifth midfield problem becomes the issue. Then I go, okay, 4.4, and I'm like, Palmer is 4.9. I don't have that many options for 4.5 or below who will be good enough to play. So you'll have to play like a 4-4-2, which I am generally not too much of a fan. Which means you probably have to go, let's say you go Mitoma still, maybe you go Diaby, right? Instead of Mitoma. Say you wanted Diaby. Either way. Then you'll probably look to maybe downgrade even Madison. Here I have 5.5. How much is Neto? 5.7. So I can't go for Neto. You could go for Palmer if you wanted to, since he takes penalties, but the fixtures are not looking good. You could go for double West Ham in Souček. Not against it. He's had the same number of touches in the penalty area box as Bowen has, which means you could switch Bowen to, in this case, a Martinelli. And I have 0.2 in the bank. And I've kept Trippier. Which is also not a bad choice. Okay, Souček is no Bowen. You're going to miss out a few points there. And that might be an issue. But that is something I hope you are aware of. So there are a few different situations in terms of like if you wanted to keep Trippier or if you wanted to go without Trippier. You could do a few couple changes in terms of player personnel, right? Then you can go into Gameweek 10 and we go play Trippier still. The midfield looks fine. Gabriel can come in for probably Udogi because maybe Crystal Palace might score against Spurs. Everything else looks good. Areola is on the bear. Under this thing, you can captain Salah if you wanted to. You can captain Haaland. Depends on how you want to go. Go into Game Week 11. Why do I have too many players from Arsenal? Oh yeah, I have 2 Gabriels. How in the world did that happen? Who was here? Cool. Alright, now you have 2 free transfers. You can look to use those 2 free transfers somewhere. You could go, okay, Trippier's clean sheet run is about to kind of go an end where he's not going to get too many clean sheets over the next 4 game weeks. Chelsea, United, and Arsenal, and then obviously Spurs just after that. You could go, okay, I want to kind of move Trippier out because I want to try and upgrade Souček. I'm not really happy with it. You could move Trippier out, go get the next best thing in Game Week 11, which would be, let's have a look. Maybe Estupinian is back, potentially. If Estupinian is back in Game Week 11, you go, okay, here's the next best thing, and go get Estupinian, upgrade Souček. You have 6.9. You can go and get yourself a Mitoma if he's fit by then. And bam, looking better. 2 free transfers, kind of used it. Trippier was there for 2 weeks, and he's gone after that because you were not happy with Souček. Again, we kind of got rid of Trippier. But this is what has to happen if you want to have a really good front 5. Depends on how you structure your squad. Again, I've told you, depends on how you structure. You might go with a 3-4-3 formation and have like a Alvarez or a Watkins as a possibility as well, and go for like a 4.5 million midfielder. That's completely possible. Game week 12, we're looking good. Estupinian will also play ahead of Taylor. Gabriel can play. Did I play Gabriel in this game? I did. Gabriel can play ahead of, I don't know, probably Sufa, if you think he's a better chance, most likely. And then what did we do here in terms of moves? Why is there one transfer? Taylor, Udogi. Oh yeah, I moved Udogi out and I got Sufal in this. So this is something you can look to do, because you go, Udogi's fixtures don't look good. Now, you can probably roll the transfer as well because he's just on the bench. So you can roll him, go into game week 13, move Udogi out if you think he's not going to do great, and bench him for maybe a Sufal, right? Sufal can come in over here. And you can bench Cash because he's playing Spurs. You could do stuff like that. And then you could go, okay, Watkins, you're getting close to your end where you got Spurs, then you got Bournemouth. I need to look into slowly moving you out. You maybe roll the next transfer, right? And then you go, I haven't changed my captain. That's why the rating is slightly low. But if you were to captain, I don't know, who would you captain in this time? Maybe you captain Saka. I don't know. Not that many good captaincy options. Maybe Haaland. You go into game week 14 and you're like, okay, team's looking fine, but things might have to slowly change. Cash can come back in. I have triple Villa and I need to be aware of that, and that kind of needs to change soon. So you probably need to look into moving someone out. Matty Cash, or so you could start with maybe Diaby in midfield. Look to move him to someone else. Probably Bowen at this moment. If you can afford it, I can't, but I'm 0.1 short. Maybe you look to move someone else as well. Maybe Estupinian takes the bullet and Estupinian kind of goes, because game week 14, Chelsea, Brentford, then they got Burnley, which is good, and then they got Arsenal, then they got Crystal Palace, which is slightly tough, and then got Spurs and West Ham. So you could probably look to maybe move Estupinian out for your 2 free transfers. Or you could move Matty Cash out. That's a possibility. Depends on how you want to approach it. Maybe Matty Cash might be the more logical decision because of Villa's fixtures looking a bit more harder over the next 5. So it depends on how you want to approach it. This is all depending on whether Estupinian is fit as well. So yeah, there are a couple options. I've gone until game 14. You'll probably game week 15 is where you look to move Watkins out for a 7 million striker. That's another possibility. But yeah, I've given you a couple options. That should actually raise. Actually, you could go like this game week 14, right? Go game week 15. Watkins is out. You go to some 7 million striker. Let's say you go to Alvarez back. You want him for 3 fixtures before he blanks. Or you go to... Will Højlund be any good at this point? Where in game week 15? Not the best. Maybe not. Darwin? Maybe Darwin Núñez is someone else you could try. Possibly, if he's playing games. Maybe, not maybe. Gabriel Jesus, 8 million option. Probably after 18. So you might have to find a forward that steps up at that moment. At the moment, I'm not unable to confirm and tell you who will be good. Even Isak might not be a bad choice if he's getting games. Isak, you could probably go, and then you could probably look to move Matty Cash up to a Newcastle defender in game week 15. Few possible moves that you could look to do. So yeah, let me know what you think. We'll go on to game 15 because after that the landscape changes too much that it's hard to predict who you would want. But yeah, that's basically it. This is my game week 9 wildcard. I've given you a couple options in terms of goalkeeper, defenders, what to do with Trippier, without Trippier, midfield and forward lineup. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, all of that, and make sure to hit the like button if you've reached up to this point. Hit the subscribe button as well. We're recording this for the second time because the previous time, unfortunately, I recorded it in the wrong format, but hopefully this one is correct. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and thank you all for watching. My name is Ryan, and I'll see you all later.